Good morning. I'd like to call to order the open meeting for Thursday, February 22nd, 2024. I would like to start the meeting with restating information about our current commission makeup. As you can see, at this time, we only have 2 commissioners, and given her previous role, Commissioner Nieto will be recused from some of the issues before us today and in the future. So for those matters where Commissioner Nieto is recused, it's treated as a vacancy, and in the absence of a third commissioner, a single commissioner, me, is authorized to perform the business of the commission. So now I'm going to ask the Commission Secretary for information on today's agenda.
Each commissioner has independently reviewed the minutes of the open meeting of Thursday, February 15th, 2024, and each has informed me there is no need to discuss the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes of the open meeting from Thursday, February 15, 2024.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Each commissioner has independently reviewed the agenda, and each has informed me there is no need to discuss the notices associated with agenda items 2 through 5. Commissioner Nieto is recused from participation in agenda item 6, and Commissioner Strand has informed me she does not need to discuss the suggested minute associated with agenda item 6, approving the transaction with all the conditions outlined in the memorandum, and approving WEPCO and MG&E's deferral request, and modifying and approving WPL's deferral request, authorizing deferral of the decremental return on and of investment and decremental O&M costs, including carrying costs on WPL's authorized deferral at its most recent authorized short-term debt rate, and with all of the deferral conditions noted in the memorandum. Each commissioner has informed me there is no need to discuss the suggested minute associated with agenda item 7, granting RJ Main Street's request for a temporary waiver of Wis Admin Code PSC section 113.0803 subsection 1's individual electric metering for the construction of a mixed-use multi-dwelling unit residential and commercial building requirement until January 1st, 2025, provided that RJ Main Street shall not resell energy to tenants, disconnect tenants for non-payment, or disconnect tenants for non-payment, and that RJ Main Street shall submit documentation of its inability to procure the necessary metering equipment and a status report every 3 months as to the anticipated arrival and installation of the required metering equipment, or the suggested minute associated with agenda item 8, determining that a waiver is not required because the individual metering requirements do not apply since there is no change in the type of occupancy and the electrical upgrade does not constitute substantial remodeling.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right, I move that we approve the notices of investigation associated with agenda items 2 and 3.
Second, all in favor?
Aye. And I move that we approve the notices of proceeding associated with agenda items 4 and 5.
Second, all in favor?
Aye. And I move that associated with agenda item 7, we approve the temporary individual meter waiver for RJ Main Street LLC, consistent with the Secretary's description.
Second, all in favor?
Aye. Associated with agenda item 8, I move we find that the applicant is not subject to the individual meter requirements consistent with the Secretary's description.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
So just to be sure, going back to docket 5BS 273, I approve the item based on the Secretary's description today, which will bring us to item 10. Are you good? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Sorry, item 9, yes. So item 9 is an application for a certificate of public convenience and necessity for Silver Maple Solar. So this is docket 9813 CE 100. So I am going to walk through the decision matrix today. This project would construct a 200 megawatt solar electric generating facility, and Silver Maple Solar, or SMS for short, is a wholly owned subsidiary of Leeward Renewable Energy. On February 24th of 2023, Silver Maple submitted its application for a 200 megawatt photovoltaic generation facility. The project will be located in the towns of El Dorado and Rosendale in Fond du Lac County, and in the town of Nakaimai in Winnebago County. Fun fact, my husband is from Fond du Lac, so he has been coaching me on the pronunciation of all of those locations. I think I got him right, hopefully. In addition to the photovoltaic panels, the project also includes trackers, inverters, transformers, underground electric collections lines, Access roads, a project substation, a generator lead line connecting to the project substations to the point of interconnection, a utility substation, and an operations and maintenance facility. The utility substation will serve as the point of interconnection and will connect the project to the transmission grid via 300 feet of new 345 kV lines that will connect to an existing American Transmission Company transition line. The project area is approximately 2,200 acres. Of approximately 1,296 acres will likely host the solar facilities. The proposed array area consists of 913 acres, as well as an alternative array area totaling 384 acres. Renewable energy resources are explicitly promoted in Wisconsin's energy policy goals, and as a non-combustible renewable energy resource, this project is the highest priority generation alternative. Public hearings were held on Wednesday, October 11th, 2023, and a party hearing was held on Friday, October 13th, 2023. In addition to the applicant, Clean Wisconsin, the Peniel Welch Chapel Association, Renew Wisconsin, the Town of El Dorado, and the Town of Nakai were parties to this proceeding. The docket garnered interest from the public, which resulted in 86 comments submitted through the PSC's electronic regulatory filing system, and the comments represented a mix of support and opposition to the project. Over the last couple years, the PSC has reviewed a number of large solar development projects. These proposals often produce strong feelings on all sides of the issue, and the same is true here. I appreciate the participation of the parties to this proceeding, as well as the groups and individuals that did file comments. Here, the record demonstrates that Silver Maple engaged in community outreach with local officials, residents, and the general public throughout development of the project. SMS also worked with prospective landowners and nearby residents to determine local interest in the project, to secure land, and to identify potential concerns to be addressed during project development. It is important to note that ultimately, landowner participation in this project is entirely voluntary and includes lease, easement, and/or purchase options on all acreage required for the project facilities. SMS also engaged with non-participating landowners through meetings hosted by the townships of El Dorado and Rosendale, as well as through an open house in the city of Fond du Lac. Communication with non-participating neighbors is expected to continue throughout the development process. One positive outcome of this outreach is an agreement between SMS and the Peniel Welch Chapel for the provision of visual screening near the chapel property, as well as funding for historic preservation efforts at the chapel. I would like to thank the applicant, the participating parties, members of the public, and commission staff for their hard work on this docket. I found the record to be complete, and I know that's no small task as there are many issues to develop. In consideration of the entirety of the record and the laws applicable to CPCN proceedings, I support approval of this application with specific modifications that I will address as I walk through this decision matrix. Normally, I would now entertain opening comments from my fellow commissioner. However, Commissioner Nieto is recused from participating in this docket. In situations like these, as I stated earlier, recusals are treated as vacancies, and a single commissioner is authorized to perform the business of the commission, where the other two positions are vacant. Accordingly, I will be the sole commissioner making determinations in this proceeding. Transparency is important to the commission, as is the issuance of a final decision with clearly articulated reasoning and order points. Therefore, I will walk through the decision matrix and provide my positions on the various contested issues. As laid out in our decision matrix, there are 9 issues, some with many sub-issues that must be addressed in determining whether the project as proposed qualifies for a CPCN. So the first contested issue that we have before us is going to be issue 3. Issue 3 pertains to compliance with Wisconsin Statute 196.491 sub 3 sub D6, and whether or not the proposed project would unreasonably interfere with the orderly land use and development plans for the area involved. Clean Wisconsin, Renew, and the commission staff support the applicant's position that the project would not unreasonably interfere with orderly land use and development plans for the proposed area. The town of Nakai disagreed and argued the project runs counter to the town comprehensive plan, which focuses on preserving the town's rural character and productive farmland. I do appreciate the concerns that were expressed by the town of Nakai and can understand their position. The record of evidence, including the environmental assessment, did not demonstrate that there is unreasonable interference with land use and development goals. Rather, I felt that it demonstrates that all the land for the project was obtained voluntarily and may be returned to agricultural use after decommissioning. Therefore, on this issue, I support alternative 1, that the project complies with Wisconsin Statute 196.491, sub 3, sub D6. Our next contested issue is issue number 5. Issue 5 asks if the design and location of the proposed project is in the public interest, considering the siting criteria of Wisconsin Statute 196.491, sub 3, sub D3, or if the commission should modify the proposed siting areas. For a wholesale merchant plant, the applicable statute requires that the design and location of the proposed project be in the public interest, considering alternative locations, individual hardships, safety, reliability, and environmental factors. In assessing this issue, the commission must consider if the design and location of the solar array sites and alternate sites are in the public interest and don't cause undue individual hardships, and determine if the solar facilities will have an adverse impact on other environmental values. The proposed project facilities are to be built in an area that is largely agricultural and is under voluntary contracts with landowners. To the degree that there are non-participating landowners, the Commission's environmental assessment determined that potential impacts to these non-participating landowners would be minimal. These findings, combined with the applicant's outreach efforts within and commitments to the local community, give me confidence, bless you, that the impacts to non-participating landowners have been thoroughly investigated and addressed by the applicants and our Commission staff. I will also note again that work was done to help avoid the visual impacts to the Peniel Welsh Chapel. As demonstrated in the record, SMS reached an agreement with the chapel regarding visual screening and financial assistance for historic preservation. The record has also demonstrated that SMS will offer screening options to neighbors where practicable. Therefore, on issue 5, I'm at alternative 1, that the project locations are in the public interest, considering the siting criteria of Wisconsin Statute 196.491, sub 3, sub D3.
I just need that window pulled down.
Yeah.
Glare.
Thank you,
off
Evan.
my
It's
bars.
right in your
killing-
eyes, yes.
killing us. Second one. Yeah,
Thanks, Evan.
thank you. Was it getting you too?
It's like right here.
Thank you. Oh, much better.
Okay. Do you want me to pull it up?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
I know, it's nice. You okay?
Yeah, it's just,
Oh, yeah, I can still see it. Okay, so we are now on issue 6, which asks the commission to weigh in on standard order conditions similar to those that have been included in prior electric construction orders. The question here is whether the final decision for this project should include the general conditions outlined in the issue scope. These conditions are an important part of the CPCN approval process because they help improve the project and related processes and increase the amount of information available. I do support the inclusion of conditions 7A through V with the removal of condition D as it is redundant with condition F. And I also just want to make a very brief statement about condition 7V, which pertains to the reporting of local labor. As noted in the issue scope, the commission has included this or similar language on at least 5 recently approved solar construction dockets. I disagree with the applicant's position that this is unnecessary. I'm a strong supporter of hiring Wisconsin workers on these projects to maximize the local economic impacts and other ancillary benefits these important developments bring to our communities. Gathering data on the workforce and hiring efforts is one tool we have to measure progress on this front. I commend the groups that submitted public comments related to this for their continued engagement on these issues and support for Wisconsin's construction trades. Therefore, condition 7V should be included in the standard order conditions and is absolutely necessary for the approval of this project. Just to recap here, I'm at alternative 1. All conditions A through V with the removal of the redundant condition D are necessary for approval of the proposed project. Next, on issue 7, we'll talk about project-specific conditions. There are a bunch of these. So 7A pertains to a project-specific condition relating to the project's nameplate capacity. The commission has jurisdiction under Wisconsin Statute 196.491, sub 3, sub D3, to ensure that the design of an electric generating facility is in the public interest considering safety and environmental factors. This condition would ensure the applicant does not construct facilities in excess of what has been proposed in the application and discussed in the record of this docket. As described in its application, the SMS facilities will be limited to 200 megawatts at the point of interconnection. In rebuttal testimony, commission staff witness Cheng Wu raised a potential point of confusion regarding the nameplate capacity of the project and the capacity at the point of interconnection. At the hearing, the applicant proposed modifying this order condition to limit the nameplate capacity of the project project to 224 megawatts and 200 megawatts at the point of interconnection. I appreciate the clarification here and commend the applicant and commission staff for their constructive work on this issue. That puts me at alternative 2, a modified condition 7A, which reflects the accurate nameplate and point of interconnection megawatt amounts to be included in the CPCN, and I feel that that condition is necessary for approval of this project. Issue 7B is related to interconnection of the project to the existing transmission system and asks if it is reasonable to include a specific order condition requiring the applicant to provide the results of various studies related to this when completed. In previous commission final decisions, such as the High Noon Solar Project, language requiring the applicant to provide interconnection updates was included as a condition, and in this proceeding, there was no stated opposition. That puts me at alternative 1 to include this condition. Item 7C pertains to a project-specific condition that would require the applicant to avoid tree clearing during the period of April 1st through August 15th. The commission has implemented similar order conditions related to tree clearing avoidance periods in previously approved solar projects, and I have supported those because I do believe it's reasonable to make accommodations to reduce the risk of direct impacts to migratory birds and bats during construction of this project. Here it's anticipated that tree clearing would occur on a small portion of the project area, approximately 3.5 acres of upland forest across 5 proposed array areas. The applicant has agreed to avoid tree clearing between June 1st and August 15th to the extent practicable, but has disputed the need to extend the avoidance period to April 1st. Ultimately, I am supportive of the recommended April 1st through August 15th avoidance period, as it would provide greater protection for birds and bats, as well as account for oak wilt concerns. I would offer a slightly modified alternative than the one identified in this issue and add the language, quote, to the extent reasonably possible, end quote, which puts me at alternative 2 to include a modified condition 7C that would require the applicant to avoid tree clearing activities during the period of April 1st through August 15th to the extent reasonably possible. I am going to make just some general comments here that relate to our next 3 sub-issues, 7D, E, and F. After my review of the record in this proceeding, I do not think these are reasonable to impose as conditions of approval for this project. To me, they represent unnecessary duplication over and above what the applicant has already agreed to and what the DNR is recommending, and are excessive requirements that will likely increase the project budget and negatively impact the construction schedule, all of which can result in higher costs to ratepayers. In balancing those concerns with the question of whether these additional proposed requirements provide added value or benefits to the project, here I don't believe the perceived added benefit or value outweigh my concerns about budget, schedule, and potential rate impact. After reviewing the totality of the record, I've come to the general assumption that the applicant here is operating in good faith, and it does behoove them to have a successful project in the public interest. We, the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin and the state, do have a great deal of regulatory authority and checks on developers throughout the application, construction, and even post-construction processes. So while I do appreciate the work and thought that was put into these suggestions, I don't support their inclusion on this project because I agree with the applicant that adding them is duplicative, confuses regulatory authority, increases regulatory risk, and could threaten project viability related to budget and schedule without a demonstrable benefit. With that being said, I think it's important to note that we take up these projects on a case-by-case basis, and each project is unique. Therefore, my comment should not be interpreted to mean that applicants can't or shouldn't propose or agree to undertake additional plans, reports, surveys, etc. in future projects, nor does it mean that the commission won't require them on other projects. Again, our decisions are made on a case-by-case basis and based solely on the information contained in the specific record before us. So issue 7D is related to a project-specific condition that would require the applicant to submit a site-specific winter stabilization plan with a stormwater pollution prevention plan that includes measures to stabilize bare soils during winter conditions. So as I stated, here I'm at alternative 3. This condition is not necessary for approval of the project. Issue 7E asks if the applicant shall be required to submit vegetation progress reports documenting areas that have achieved 70% uniform vegetation density on a quarterly basis. Again, based on my earlier comments, I'm at alternative 3. This condition is not necessary for approval of the project. Issue 7F asks if any of the project-specific conditions or modifications proposed by Clean Wisconsin should be adopted. I appreciate the time and effort Clean Wisconsin put into developing these recommendations. However, based on my earlier comments, I am at alternative 2. None of the conditions listed as 7FA through 7FE are necessary for approval of the project. Issue 7G asks if there are any other project-specific conditions or modifications proposed in the record that should be adopted. I appreciate the public's involvement in this docket and appreciate the comments that were filed. Comments are an important and valuable component of the record. I did review staff data request response exhibit and the responses to staff's inquiries asking about the expected visual impacts on specific residences. The applicant's responses to these inquiries were constructive, including communications with the non-participating landowners, offers to install additional vegetative buffers between the project and lot lines, and commitments to continue working with property owners to evaluate the necessity of additional vegetative buffering. Regarding the specific public comment referenced in the issue scope of this item, the comment did not include a specific recommendation other than to reject the project. In the absence of specific recommendations here, I'm not going to propose modifications, and therefore I'm at alternative 2. Issue 8A asks if the commission has complied with WIPA pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 1.11 and Wisconsin Administrative Code, Chapter PSC 4. Wisconsin Stat 1.11 requires for major actions significantly affecting the quality of the human environment the preparation of a detailed statement as to the environmental impact of the proposed action. An environmental assessment was prepared jointly by our commission and DNR staff and in accordance with WIPA. There is no opposition regarding the commission's compliance with our WIPA requirements. Therefore, I'm at alternative 1. Issue 8B asks if the proposed project will have undue adverse impact on other environmental values as provided under Wisconsin Statute 196.491 sub 3 sub D4. In consideration of the evidence in the record, including the conclusions made in the environmental assessment, and in light of our discussion today, I'm at alternative 1 that the proposed project will not have undue adverse impact on other environmental values as provided under the applicable statute. And our final question is, should the commission grant a CPCN for the proposed project? Consistent with my positions in issues 1 through 8, here I'm at alternative 2, that the commission should grant a CPCN for the proposed project with the conditions discussed today. So that concludes our discussion of this project's decision matrix. Thank you. So for agenda item 9, docket 9813, CE 100, I approve granting a CPCN for the project consistent with the decisions I discussed today. And I ask that the draft final decision be returned to a future commission agenda for final review and approval. Do you guys need anything else? Okay, great. So that concludes our official business for today. The next open meeting is scheduled for Thursday, February 29th at 10:30 a.m. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn until Thursday, February 29, 2024 at 10:30 a.m.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.